So what if the reality you're experiencing right now, like this very second, is exactly what you programmed it to be?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no metaphors, just a literal one-to-one manifestation, for better, for worse.
I mean, that is an incredibly uncompromising premise to start with.
That really
Because
is.
we usually walk around assuming we're navigating a reality that exists completely independent of our minds. But the framework we're looking at today really just rips that assumption right down to the studs.
Right, which brings us to welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring this truly radical interpretation of, I guess you'd call it mind over matter.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And this is brought to us by a fascinating piece of writing. It's titled Visualized Thinking, Using Consciousness to Create Reality. And it's by an author named Xu Feng, which it's a very dense, very interesting text, completely. And the mission for you, our listener, and for us today, is to figure out how this author builds a universe where consciousness doesn't just, perceive the world, it actively generates it.
Mm.
Because according to Xu Feng,
Mm.
over 95% of humanity is currently trapped.
Trapped in a very specific way. Yeah.
Right, we're stuck in these lower levels of thinking, just completely at the mercy of our environment. But he says there is an escape hatch,
And that escape hatch is exactly what he calls visualized thinking.
which sounds a bit corporate, right?
It does. I mean, what's so compelling about this writing is how it operates. It starts off sounding like something you might hear in a corporate mindset seminar or a self-help retreat.
Oh, totally, like synergizing your paradigms.
Exactly. But before you know it, you are swimming in deep metaphysical waters. You're dealing with cosmic systems, the fundamental architecture of space and time. I mean, it demands that we completely rethink our relationship with every single event happening around us.
Okay, so let's figure out what we are escaping from first. Because before we can build our own reality, we have to, understand the trap.
Right, the baseline problem.
Yeah. Xu Feng argues that the vast majority of us, that 95%, are operating within four highly limited mental states. He lists them as material thinking, image thinking, associative thinking, and illusory thinking.
And those four states basically combine to create what he calls a maze, a dazzling, overwhelming maze.
But what do those actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon?
Well, to understand why it's a maze, we have to define those states, because honestly, they are incredibly recognizable.
Yeah, they hit pretty close to home.
They do. So material thinking is exactly what it sounds like. It's obsessing over the physical stuff right in front of you.
Like paying the rent.
Right, paying the rent, fixing the car, hoarding possessions, that constant stress. Then you have image thinking, which is chasing superficial appearances. So being totally consumed by your status or how other people perceive you.
So basically the Instagramification of your entire life.
Yes, exactly that. Then there is associative thinking, which is essentially just a spiral of anxiety.
Oh, the doom spiral.
Yeah, it's when one event triggers this cascade of completely unrelated worries, like your boss frowns at you, so you immediately assume you're getting fired.
Which means I'll lose my house, which means I'll end up alone.
Exactly. And finally, you have illusory thinking. This is just pure daydreaming without any grounding or action.
Hoping to win the lottery without ever buying a ticket?
Exactly. And when you combine these four states, what do you get? You get a life spent purely reacting to phenomena.
Just putting out fires all day.
Right. The daily grind, the sudden emergencies, the shiny distractions.
I'll think about your own commute this morning, right? Like, to the listener, if you were stuck in traffic, getting angry,
Yeah.
gripping the steering wheel,
Yeah.
Xu Feng would say, you are completely lost in the maze. You are just bumping into the walls of daily phenomena.
You're completely reactive.
Yeah. As I was reading this, I kept picturing like 95% of humanity trapped inside this massive, endlessly complex corn maze, just bumping into dead ends, panicking. So is visualized thinking essentially like launching a drone?
How do you mean?
Like, are we just sending a camera straight up to look down at the maze,
Yeah.
allowing us to bypass the confusion entirely?
I see. Well, the drone analogy gets us halfway there, but it kind of implies you are just an observer.
Oh, like you're just watching the maze?
Right, like you're just looking at the maze to find the exit. Xu Feng's point goes much further than that.
How so?
When you adopt this higher vantage point through visualized thinking, you aren't just the drone pilot finding a path through the walls. You realize you are the maze designer.
Wait, you can move the walls?
You can move the walls. The writing states this as a matter of absolute fact. He says the environment is shaped by the mind, and consciousness creates reality.
I mean, that's a beautiful thought experiment, to say I can move the walls, but actually doing it is another thing entirely. Like, if I want to walk through a brick wall, I need to know the physics of how it was built, right? How does Yuseng claim we actually move the bricks? Because he does bring in some very specific personal anecdotes to prove this isn't just theory.
Yeah, he anchors these massive cosmic claims in his own lived experience. For example, he describes a moment from his youth. He was studying at the Zhangjiakou Geological Technical School,
Right, I remember this part.
and he was sitting entirely alone by a raised railroad track. He says he held this very clear, highly detailed mental image in his mind. He didn't do anything physical to make it happen, but several years later, that exact image materialized in his real life.
Like exactly as he pictured it.
Exactly. He found himself physically standing in the exact scene he had pictured by the train tracks all those years ago.
He writes that it felt like a, quote, cosmic mystery had been unveiled. And it wasn't an isolated incident either.
No, not at all.
He recounts sitting by a swimming pool in Zimbabwe, chatting with a friend who casually described scenes he had imagined years earlier. And those scenes had subsequently unfolded exactly as envisioned.
Yeah, and Shufeng even realized that his own life trajectory, specifically the act of moving to Zimbabwe and opening a shop in the capital, Harare, were events he had explicitly envisioned beforehand.
Which is wild. He posits that reality is strictly, almost obediently, following the images held in the mind.
And that introduces the underlying engine of all this. Shufeng introduces this concept he calls the negative universe.
Right, and we should clarify, this isn't negative as in bad or evil, right?
Exactly. It means unseen or latent. It is described as an invisible, totally neutral energy source. And its sole function, its only job, is to mobilize absolutely everything in the universe to realize a fixed mental image.
And honestly, here's where I hit a bit of a mental roadblock with the text.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Whiffing compares using this negative universe to turning on a faucet to get water.
Mhm.
But if I'm going to trust this grand cosmic system, I kind of want to know how the plumbing works.
That's a fair point.
Right. Does the author actually explain the mechanics of this negative universe? Or are we just expected to have, like, blind faith that if we turn the handle, the water will come out?
Well, the author is actually quite blunt about this. He explicitly states that you do not need to understand the plumbing.
Really?
Just
Trust the faucet.
Yeah. And he uses a modern parallel to explain why. I mean, think about the device you are using right now. You don't need to understand the microchips, the motherboard, or the intricate coding languages to operate it, right?
I just tap the screen.
Exactly. You just need to know how to run the software. In Suofeng's paradigm, visualized thinking is the software. You input the code, which is the image, and the universe acts as the processor.
But isn't that a massive leap? I mean, just visualizing something and expecting the universe to deliver it feels a bit like, well, magical thinking.
It does sound like magic, but if we want to map this onto a framework that might feel a bit more familiar to you, psychologists often talk about something called the reticular activating system, or the RAS, in the human brain.
Oh, right. The filter.
Exactly. It's a bundle of nerves at our brainstem that filters out unnecessary information so only the important stuff gets through. If you decide you want to buy a red car, suddenly you see red cars everywhere.
The world didn't change, your filter did.
Right. Now, while Shufeng is making a literal metaphysical claim about the universe changing, the practical result is very similar. By intensely focusing the mind, you filter reality, you recognize opportunities, and you align your unconscious actions toward a singular goal.
Okay, I see.
To explain the mechanism of this negative universe, think of it like soil. Soil is completely impartial. It doesn't care if you plant the seed of a beautiful, life-giving apple tree or the seed of a toxic weed.
It just grows it.
It simply takes whatever seed you give it, mobilizes the nutrients, and grows it.
So how do we plant the right seeds to actually optimize our lives? Because the text makes a razor-sharp distinction between being busy and being diligent.
Yes, that's a huge point for him.
Suifin claims we should be doing a year's worth of work in a single day, or doing thousands of years' worth of work in just a few years, which is, I mean, that is a staggering claim about time management.
It's radical. He illustrates this through a scenario we can call the villa example. It perfectly highlights the friction of the, quote, slow way versus the effortless power of the smart way. Let's say you want to live in a luxurious villa. Think about the conventional approach.
Well, the conventional approach is pure friction, right? You have to work for a decade just to save the capital. Then you have to deal with the bureaucracy of buying land. You hire architects for blueprints. You hire a construction crew.
It's a nightmare of logistics.
Yeah. Halfway through, the price of lumber skyrockets. or the crew quits, or the permits get denied. It's exhausting, it takes years, and it's fraught with the possibility of failure.
Exactly, because you are fighting through the phenomena. You are down in the maze, wrestling with the walls.
Bumping into the corn.
Yes. The visualized approach, the smart way, bypasses all of that friction. You don't start with the bank loan or blueprints. You start by calming your mind entirely. You enter a meditative state, and you construct the vela in your consciousness.
Like, down to the details.
The dimensions, the lighting, the exact location. The text insists that the clearer and more fixed the image, the better.
Okay, so to me, conventional thinking feels like walking cross-country with a paper map. You're bushwhacking, you're getting lost, you're constantly recalibrating based on the terrain.
Right.
Visualized thinking sounds like programming the exact GPS coordinates into a fully autonomous vehicle, sitting back and letting it drive you there.
The autonomous vehicle is a great way to think about it, but there is an essential detail we cannot overlook here.
What's that?
The text specifically notes that the negative universe mobilizes everything, including yourself. So you aren't just sitting in the back seat waiting for a villa to drop out of the sky. The soil of the universe is growing the seed, but it is also unconsciously steering your daily actions, your conversations, and your decisions to perfectly align with that goal.
Wow, okay.
The friction disappears because you are no longer forcing it. The only remaining variable is time.
Okay, but if this autonomous vehicle will take you exactly where you program it to go, what happens if you accidentally program in a cliff? Because my mind immediately went to intrusive thoughts.
And that brings us to the absolute most crucial warning in the entire text. We talked about the soil being impartial, right?
Yeah, it has no moral compass.
It is neither kind nor cruel. It simply mirrors the image you give it. If you feed it chaotic, fearful thoughts, the negative universe will obediently grant you a chaotic, fearful life.
And the rule Xufeng lays down is uncompromising. He says, never imagine suffering, hardship, or negative outcomes.
No.
And the historical examples he uses to back this up are intense. I mean, he points to Zheng Zhenduo, a former minister of culture who tragically died in a plane crash in Afghanistan.
Right.
Xufeng claims this was not an accident of mechanics or weather, but the direct result of Zheng Zhenduo having previously imagined a plane crash.
He goes even further than that. He cites reading the diary of a human rights activist whose actual death played out exactly as he had visualized in his writings beforehand.
That's incredibly heavy.
It is. And he specifically analyzes pro-democracy activists who ended up imprisoned. Xufeng observed that many of them had previously written about imprisonment, treating it as a necessary credential for their movement.
Like it was a badge of honor.
Yes, they viewed going to jail as a kind of university for their cause.
So they planted the seed of a prison cell, and the soil grew a prison cell.
Precisely.
I have to admit, I'm struggling with the implications here. It is one thing to empower someone to manifest a villa, but blaming individuals for a fatal plane crash or for being thrown into political confinement simply because they, visualized it.
It's a lot to process.
For anyone listening, that can sound dangerously close to extreme victim blaming. How do we reconcile this incredibly strict law of cause and effect?
Well, it is the ultimate double-edged sword of Xufeng's philosophy. It is a closed loop of logic.
Right.
If we analyze it neutrally within the author's own framework, this system offers humanity absolute, limitless empowerment. But the absolute cost of that empowerment is total, uncompromising responsibility.
So no accidents.
In this paradigm, there is no room for random tragedy. There is no room for bad luck, and there is certainly no room for victimhood. The energy of the negative universe is just a blind mirror. If you project a deep-seated fear of a plane crash into that mirror, the mirror has no choice but to reflect a plane crash back into your physical reality.
So what is the remedy? Because let's be honest, every single person has moments of anxiety.
Of course.
We all picture the worst-case scenario sometimes. If I'm sitting at the terminal waiting to board a flight, and the thought of an engine failure flashes across my mind, does the negative universe instantly start mobilizing to crash the plane? Like, am I doomed?
No, and the text is very pragmatic about this. Xufeng provides an immediate remedy. The negative universe only mobilizes to realize a fixed mental image.
Fixed, okay.
If a negative thought arises, you cannot let it settle. You must immediately actively reject it. He says you must firmly say no in your mind.
You just shut it down.
You have to cut off the chaotic signal before it takes root in the soil.
Okay, so we have this immense, almost godlike power at our fingertips, but it comes with this terrifying danger if we misuse it. Which leads me to a bit of a paradox in the text.
Okay, what's that?
Well, if everyone has access to this faucet, what should we be visualizing? Because Wufeng writes that he doesn't actually want to spread this secret widely.
Right. He states that this knowledge is specifically intended for a group he calls Chanyuan Celestials.
Chanyuan Celestials.
Yes. These are individuals who deeply resonate with his teachings and his specific spiritual frequency. It is an exclusive community of belief.
And this is where the paradox is for me. Earlier, the text used the luxurious villa and the shop in Herrera as proof that this works. Those are highly material, individualistic desires.
Okay, grounded in the ego, yeah.
Exactly. But then Wufeng pivots and says that to truly gain yourself, you must give up yourself. He even cites Jesus and Buddha. He explicitly calls out specific individuals by name, people like Shaoxi, Canyon Celestial, and Sitong, saying that because they strive to hold on to their own egos and individual identities, they ultimately lose themselves and remain trapped in the maze.
Which seems like a contradiction.
Yeah, I'm trying to bridge the gap here. How does the author reconcile manifesting a massive, expensive house with ultimate egoless selflessness?
It is actually a brilliant structural pivot in his argument. What we are seeing is the scaling up of ambition.
Scaling up, okay.
Think of the villa or the shop in Zimbabwe as a Trojan horse. They are material proofs of concept. If he started by telling people to manifest cosmic harmony, no one would understand the mechanism.
Because it's too abstract.
Exactly. So he starts with something tangible, a house. It proves the faucet works. But once you realize you possess the infinite power to literally create reality, using it to get rich or famous suddenly seems incredibly petty.
It's like having access to the world's most powerful supercomputer and only using it to play solitaire.
Precisely. Once you realize the scale of what you can do, Wufeng directs his followers to visualize at a cosmic level. He introduces a concept he calls holographic thinking.
Holographic thinking.
Yeah, in a hologram, every single piece contains the image of the whole. Holographic thinking requires you to view the universe not as a collection of separate objects, but as a singular, interconnected grand system that includes space-time, life, gods, and Buddhas.
Ah, so he urges his followers to abandon petty desires, to stop wasting time on what he calls others' wisdom, and to visualize something far grander. He tells them to imagine life as Chanyuan Celestials, to picture themselves in the thousand-year world, and ultimately the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world. I mean, these sound like highly specific utopian paradises within his cosmology.
They are. He is asking for absolute faith in his grand system. He uses the mechanics of manifestation to draw the reader out of the mundane maze of the senses, past material wealth, and straight into total alignment with his cosmic framework of harmony, nature, and beauty.
This has been an incredible journey. Let's briefly recap the ground we've covered today.
Sounds good.
We started with the startling claim that 95% of us are trapped in the sensory maze, bogged down by material, image, associative, and illusory thinking. We explore the invisible soil of the negative universe, where fixing an image in your mind mobilizes reality to grow it.
The faucet.
The faucet, right. We navigated the severe, unforgiving danger of feeding that neutral soil our darkest fears. And finally, we look at how Wufeng uses this profound power not to build physical mansions, but to construct a completely selfless, interconnected cosmic reality.
And here's the real takeaway. Even if you do not buy into the specific cosmology of Chanyuan Celestials or the Elysium world.
Which, many won't.
Right. But this text functions as an extraordinary, deeply uncomfortable audit of human intentionality.
Yes. It really holds a mirror up to how we spend our mental energy. Like, think about your own mind right now.
Everyone listening.
Yeah, how much of your daily bandwidth is spent visualizing your own failures? How much time do you spend stressing over the walls of the maze, mentally rehearsing arguments that haven't even happened yet, or anticipating dead ends?
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
What if you took all of that energy and calmly, vividly defined the exact coordinates of where you actually want to go?
If we truly acted as though our passing thoughts were literally laying the bricks for our tomorrow, it would radically change the weight of every daydream and every anxiety.
It demands a level of moment-to-moment mental discipline, that is. It's just staggering to consider.
It really is.
Which brings me to one final lingering detail hidden near the end of the text. It's a small but massive caveat.
Oh, the warning.
Yes. Wufeng writes that once you master visualized thinking, your confidence will soar. You will realize you can move mountains, part oceans, and literally create universes. But right after offering infinite godlike power, he issues a sudden warning.
He pulls it back a little.
He does. He tells the reader, do not let ambition grow too great, as extremes will always lead to the opposite result. He explicitly warns against disrupting symmetry and proportion.
It is a fascinating limitation to place on a system that he just spent pages describing as completely neutral and infinite.
Right. If the soil of the negative universe truly does not care what seed you plant, why does it care if the tree grows too big?
It's a great question.
So we want to leave you, the listener, with this final question to ponder. If the energy of the universe is completely blind and impartial, simply turning on the faucet for whatever image we hold, then who or what decides what is too extreme or disproportionate?
Who sets the limit?
Does the universe have a hidden safety valve designed to protect its own symmetry? Or is our own imagination truly the only limit we face? Think carefully before you program your reality today. Until next time.